Our next presentation is on LBJ Express, an example of public-private partnership on infrastructures. A talk given by Jaime Granel Guyat, is the Global Head of Infrastructure Division at Engineering Services in Ferrovial Construction. Please, hello, welcome.
Hello,
Jaime.
hi Carmen, can
Thank
you hear me?
Thank you very much for your attendance.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me correctly?
Yes, everything is fine.
Okay, and you can see the presentation, right?
Your presentation, not at the moment. Are you sharing your presentation?
Yes.
Yes, now, yeah, we can.
Okay,
we can
perfect.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Carmen. So, good morning, everyone. And first of all, thanks to the SRAP, okay, for having me here today. It's a pity that I cannot be there, but I left Australia a few months ago, so I'm right now talking from Madrid. I would like to say a special thank you to Angel and Eladio, especially Eladio because he was the first person who put me in contact with the SRAP and with Angel. So thank you, Angel. Thank you, Eladio. Okay. And let's gonna start. No, a collaborative work. No, that's the topic today. And to be honest, first time that Eladio invited me to talk about this topic, you know, I didn't know what to talk about. Okay, and I start thinking in a presentation that I did in Adelaide back in 2018 at the Australian Structural Conference about a project that we built in Dallas, no, the LBJ Express, and I think is perfect for the topic today, obviously from a different perspective, no, than the one that I did in Adelaide. So I'm going to talk about public-private collaboration, okay, in transport infrastructure. That I think is also a trending topic in Australia because I think Australia is living a boom, no, of construction and infrastructure. So let's start. Let me say something. I'm going to simplify a lot the presentation, not only because we have only 12 minutes, but also because I think there is a wide range of people here today listening with different backgrounds, and I think it's not worth entering into technical details, you know, because people can get lost. So, okay. Think about an infrastructure asset, no? Like for example, a highway, no? What do you think are the main activities that need to happen for that highway to be done, no? First is the financing, no? If you don't have money, forget about the highway, no? But once you have the money, you can start with the design, okay? And once you have the design done, you can start with the construction. And when the construction finishes, that is not the end, no? Because you have to operate and you have to maintain the asset, no? We design highways for a service life of more than 100 years, so you need to take care of that highway, you know, during that period of time. And which are the key parties, no, involved in all these activities? The public sector and the private sector, no? Different players, different agents, but those are the big two parties. Okay, so. Right now, imagine that we have the funding and we want to make that highway, okay? Which are the typical procurement options or contracts, you know, in transport infrastructure? Those three, the construction only, the design and construction, and the public-private partnership are very typical all around the world, no? There are many others, obviously, as complex as possible because we have always lawyers around, you know, but I'm going to talk about these three ones, no? What is a construction-only project, no? In this type of projects, the funding is done by the public sector, okay? Same as the design, no? The public sector is managing the design always through a private company like a consultant or a designer. Same with construction, no? They engage a construction company to do the construction, and the same with the operation and maintenance, no? Usually it's done by the public sector, or sometimes it's even subcontracted. But as you can see here, all those activities are isolated one from each other, no? And although you have the public sector transversally across all those activities, there are no synergies because sometimes there are even years between one activity and the other, no? This is very typical in small projects, you know, and not very complex. Then we have the design and construction type of contract, no? In which, again, the public sector is doing the funding, but we have a small difference that make a big difference, I would say, no? That is that now we have a unique contract for design and construction. So the design and the construction are integrated, no? Between a contract between the public and, for example, a construction company and some designers. And then, again, the maintenance and the operation is done by the public sector, okay? This is very typical in medium to large projects, like above 300 millions to billions sometimes, and with some kind of level of complexity, no? And then we have this public-private partnership, no? Here, everything changed since the very beginning, no? Because we have the public and the private working together in the funding, no? And this is basically because the public doesn't have enough money to make that highway possible, and they ask for money to the private, no? And this is what we call the SPV, the Special Purpose Vehicle, which is an entity formed by a group of banks or infrastructure funds or people with money, no? At the end of the day. And through this Special Purpose Vehicle, they subcontract again the design and the construction integrated into one unique contract, and the same with the operation and the maintenance. So as you can see here in the picture, it changed a lot, no? Everything is wrapped under one, I would say, head contract, and all activities happen at the same time, not from the chronology point of view, but yes, from the decision making and within the same team, no? And this is very typical in large and complex projects, no? Obviously, the guys that are investing money, they have to get that money back, no? And that usually is done by the operation of the highway, no? They get benefits from operating the highway through the concession period that usually is between 20 and 50 years, no? Depending on the contract. So which are the advantages of this kind of collaboration? I've been working in this type of projects, construction only, D&Cs or PPPs, during the last 20 years all around the world, more than 6 countries. And I can tell you it's the only way to afford large and complex projects. There is no other way, okay? Integration, that is key, because by this procurement model, you can look to the whole of life of the asset, no? That means that you can have inputs from the operator or inputs from the maintenance guys into the design at early stages, and at the end of the day, that is going to result in a better solution, no? In a more efficient solution. That's what we call value for money solutions, no? Also, by having all the decisions, at the same time, and within the same team, you can accelerate programs, no? Sometimes we are always complaining about that, when that highway that the government was promising, is going to be done. This is a way of accelerate those programs. At the end of the day, collaboration, no? It will give you always better outcomes. And which are the cons? The cons, to be honest, is more about bad perception, no? From the public, from us, about tollways or about privatization. But I can tell you, that's what I put, quote unquote, that is not a full privatization, no? It's like when you want to buy a house and you ask the bank for money, the house is not yours, it's partially owned by the bank until you pay your debt. So this is pretty much the same, no? And about the tolls, I will put you an example later, because not always this type of highways need to be a tollway, okay? So let's gonna put an example of all these things, no? This is the project that we did in Dallas, no? In 2010, between 2010 and 2015, no? That is the LBJ, no? Obviously, everyone knows where is Texas, in south of the United States. Dallas, north of Texas, no, and this is the layout of the corridor of the project, no, which involves the I-35, no, north-south, and the I-635, which is called the LBJ, the Lyndon B. Johnson, east-west. Okay. So I'm not sure what you know about Dallas, okay, but those are the stereotypes that I knew at the time when I get there, no? I knew about the TV show, or that Kennedy was killed in Dallas, and also about the land of cowboys, no? But I can tell you, I quickly realized about traffic, no? Traffic is another stereotype in Dallas, no? These are pictures of the highway just before starting the reconstruction, no? Real pictures. As you can see, there was a lot of pressure, from the community to the Texas Department of Transportation for improving this corridor. No, this highway was open to traffic in 1969, and it was designed for 180,000 cars daily. But just 40 years after opening, it has more than 250,000 cars daily. No, and the predictions pre-COVID, obviously, projected more than 500,000 cars daily. No, I think this is the picture that we all have in our minds, no, when thinking about 500,000 cars on a daily basis on a highway. Okay, so now let me put you two examples of the advantages of this type of contracts. I said before that not always the tollways are the enemy. No, in this project, for example, we improve the freeways. No, we didn't remove any free lane. Just the opposite. We improve the capacity of the free lanes. We improve the capacity of the frontage roads, and we just add some toll lanes, 3+3 lanes, in case someone wants to use it. So at the end of the construction, if you are a driver, on that highway, you can choose between the freeway, which is even better than before, or if for whatever reason you want to get faster to a meeting, you want to get faster to pick up your kids at the school, you can use the tollways, no? Which are under we call these tollways the managed lanes, no? Because you can guarantee the level of service always. In other words, we guarantee that if you take the tollway, you are never going to have traffic on it, no? And we do that playing with the fares, okay? And another example about what I was talking before is the value engineering, no, the value for money solutions. This project was dead since the beginning, if by procuring this project like a construction only or a DNC, and it was almost dead also under a PPP, because the awarded design, our solution, was the only financially feasible proposal. Okay, as you can see there in the picture, the Texas Department of Transportation wanted to implement 2 toll lanes, no? And they were thinking in 2 tunnels, below the freeways. Our competitor were able to remove one of those tunnels by implementing one of the toll lanes in the surface, but we came up with this solution that you can see here right now with some depressed managed lanes, no? Let me explain, because tunnels are always probably the most expensive piece of infrastructure in a highway, not only because from the construction point of view could be very complicated, but also because from the operation and maintenance point of view are very, very expensive. So by removing those tunnels, we were able to make that project feasible. No, we won the project for $1 billion less than our competitor. No, and like I told you, it was the only feasible proposal. So again, by looking at the global picture, but looking at the whole of life, by being able to talk with the operator, to collaborate with the construction guys, with the maintenance guys, we were able to make possible this solution. Okay, so I'm going to show you. Hopefully it works, a short video of the highway nowadays. I don't know if you can hear the music or not. But this is how it looks after opening, no? I think the video is done before the 2020 or something like that. So I would say it was an incredible job, no? And just because I know we are running late, in time, just finishing, let me give you a thought, no? Between the picture on the left and the picture of the right, there are clear differences, no? One is before construction and the other one is after construction. But I can tell you the big difference, and this is real feedback that we have from the city of Dallas and from the community, is that this highway improved the quality of life of a lot of people living in Dallas. Okay, so at the end of the day, ladies and gents, this is the beauty of a collaborative work. Okay, so thank you so much, and hope you like it.
Thank you very much, Jaime Barrero.
Mhm.
Amazing project. Do we have any questions in the audience, or shall we start? Professor Luis Salvador Carulla has a question.
Thank you very much, Jaime, for your presentation. I work in health planning, and we are very interested in getting further knowledge on mega projects, how we can transfer the information you are generating in mega projects to the area of healthcare. One key issue that has come on this discussion is decommissioning. You develop all these strategies, and it could happen that there is a decommissioning of a mega project. How you face this type of situation in the mega project strategy?
But you mean from the health perspective, or sorry?
No, from the general perspective. One of the things in health is how you will transfer the care provision of a whole catchment area to one insurance company, for instance, or one provider. And how, if you have done that, you can, on the long term, decommission this transfer.
Yeah, well, the insurance and all that world, you know, behind insurance is a very complicated topic, no, in infrastructure, and especially nowadays with these large and big projects, no. So I'm not specifically an expert on that field, but I can tell you that under a PPP project, no, you can share the risk in a more appropriate way between the public sector and the private sector, you know, at all levels of that orchard that I was presenting before, no? So in other words, when you have, for example, a design and construction project in which usually all the risk is transferred from the client, from the government to the contractor, then is when you can struggle with that kind of I would say, liability or issue with the insurance. And by having this type of PPP procurements or 3Ps is when you can somehow share the risk, no? I don't know if I'm answering specifically your question or not.
I think he does. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jaime. It's been a pleasure to have you. And
perfect.
we are
Thank
going
you,
to
Carmen.
into the next talk. Thank
okay.
you. Applause.
Thanks.